Hey, it's Brad. So, loss aversion is funny. It's surprisingly powerful. I was playing poker with some friends the other day, just for the chips, and the concept of being pot committed kept coming to mind. Where, once you have some sort of stake in the game, you are much more willing to keep fighting for it than you would be, to give an initial bet at that point. And I think a big part of the problem is people feel like making good on an investment at the current state speaks to the validity of that choice initially. Like if they don't win the hand, then it was, a bad call to go that far in. Which, makes sense to a degree, but it's a very clear, rookie fallacy to just end up losing all your chips. And similarly, a lot of people get in bad relationships and they just keep going with it because they've stuck with it that far already. And I think a lot of times those people just don't realize that if it's a bad relationship, then there's, on average, you could replace that with another bad relationship really easily. But then the question becomes, maybe a new relationship isn't the solution to your problems. That's a whole different story, though. But it does come down to the same misplaced affection and evaluation of benefit. I had a Mustang, 98 Mustang was my first car. I loved it. And it became, a little bit of a pride issue. And then I lost it. Learned that lesson pretty fast. But the enjoyment that I had also went away. I hated driving for years after that. And the next time I got to drive a nice sports car, I was like, oh yeah, driving's fun. I forgot about that. It's just crappy cars that I don't like driving. But if I had, associated what the car provided with the car and been able to properly separate and identify what component, first of all, the issue of losing the car aside, if I had been able to identify that I enjoyed driving a certain type of car, then I wouldn't have thought that I hated driving. But, that sort of misplaced affection is easy to fix. It just takes, analysis of your experience and being willing to do that is something that most people just don't bother. Too much work. Trying to think about what you do and examine your life, that's silly. But it's the same pattern that, they fall in everywhere else. Guilt should instead be just remorse, the bad decision. I regret making a bad decision. And then that is just, after it's not so keen, that just becomes disappointment. Like I'm disappointed that I made that decision at the time. And then that, will fade and just become a detail and eventually humor. And similarly, worry should just become awareness or anticipation. Um, and with assessment, it can become preparation, and then it diffuses it back to, at best, anticipation of an event, whether it's, positive or negative, leads to the, excitement or dread. And dread, again, that's not helpful. So once you've become aware of something, you just mitigate it and then move on. All these things just makes you kind of really reconsider the whole Buddhist and Jesus himself preaching of pretty much holy vagabond style. But modern culture, that's extra hard. Because you have to have debt, you have to have your bonds, and trying to break those ripples out into other areas of dependency, like, food, water, silly stuff, frivolous. But that's where it comes back to, we are essentially at post-scarcity. It's just a few systems that are broken, and obviously it's not an easy fix, but it's fewer minds to change than it would have ever been before.